So we are at a saturation point of ideation, I think, right now, with pretty much every original idea already existing. So when it came to making our own tabletop game, it's fair to say that we haven't necessarily done anything original. And between you and me, we kind of didn't even try. Let me explain why. So for probably about 18 months now, we have steadily been toiling away from early conceptual work to pretty much a finished purchasable product, our own miniature tabletop skirmish game called Petracore. Wasn't always called Petracore. We knocked a few names around, but we did settle eventually on Petracore. I am going to do a handful of these videos, which are more of a, I guess, a consciousness dump that has come to me now that I realize we are near the end of production, the process, pre-production, production, whatever. In this video, I am going to take a little look and a little talk through concept generation, early concessions that we had to make, and marketplace realism. I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but we are going to eventually cover costing, budget, and production. Everything in this game is self-financed, self-manufactured. There is a fleet of 3D printers in the next room doing the Lord's work right now and making sure we have a Petracore to sell at UK Games Expo. Yeah, that Hay Gears printer that I reviewed at the end of last year, yes, thank you. It paid for my family Christmas, cheers. And then I did actually manage to get under the bonnet of that printer and get the printer running with cheap resin. And as it is now, it's the best printer I own. It's the nicest, it's the best results, it's the best printer I own. The Elegoo Saturn, no elaboration needed on that, I don't think. And the behemoth that is the Elegoo Jupiter 2, which I have early, sent by Elegoo. It's a phenomenal printer. I've left some links down below if you're interested to see more about what this printer's about. I'm not going to do a full review yet because I'm busy. But yes, anyway, back to the conceptual stuff. I wanted to make a tabletop game for like the two golden reasons that any working creative wants to make anything and / needs to make anything, which is balancing creativity and revenue, essentially, and managing realistic expectation between the two. And my very first elevator pitch, I guess, to myself was that I wanted to combine multiple things that were popular, reliably popular, put them together in a way that was new and interesting, and those things hadn't been done before. And I took from those things probably the things that you least expect me to have taken. I think when I say I wanted to combine Stargrave and Dark Souls, you immediately have a visual representation of what's in my head. So why Stargrave? Well, I wanted the basic pick up and play list building, I wanted a small unit count, and I wanted 2 dice rolling off to resolve a conflict with a swingy outcome. And I wanted that feeling that the Grave games have, where they essentially just, through gameplay, they generate moment-to-moment stuff and little narrative things that just come through organically. More than anything though, I wanted kind of a loose, optionally modular system where essentially with Stargrave and Frostgrave you can buy a book and then everything else is kind of whatever you want to do. So it was by proxy of that set in stone from the start of this game's development that it was going to be completely miniature agnostic. Like the freedom of expression is there. You buy a book and do whatever you want after that, mate. That is a choice that ended up being more important than we ever thought it would be. In that we built the majority of the game's background universe around enabling miniature agnosticism, that it wouldn't break immersion, that it would just kind of fuel it and keep things going. Yeah, the Dark Souls influence, I mean, it's kind of pretty much semi-fucking inescapable now, with a lot of indie tabletop stuff. Not everyone, but you see it more than you ever expect to see it, and you only really see it when you're looking at direct point of comparison, like, oh fuck, they're doing that as well. Oh, they're doing that as well. Oh, that's unfortunate. But more than anything, the initial pull that I wanted to pull from Dark Souls and Soulsborne in general was that Dark Souls is aware that it's a game. It's aware that you're aware it's a game, and it has no issue or ambiguity in hiding that fact. Yeah, more than any other game series out there, the Soulsborne stuff pretty much allows you to look at their games like they're the Matrix. You know, they're a code to be understood. They're a set of behaviors and binary values and choices that combine entirely within its own essentially flawless logic system. And all their universes have rules, like predictable rules that you are expected to manipulate to your advantage to win. So I did want that. I wasn't sure initially how we would do that, but I don't think we'll get to it in this video, but the end product very much feels like here is a set of mechanics. You are aware there's a set of mechanics, the game is aware of those, now do something with it. So I wanted the Stargrave start with the book angle, and I wanted Dark Souls' mechanical self-awareness. Everything after that point is purely coincidental. Yeah, building an interesting universe is pretty fucking hard, man. There's things to consider when you're building your miniature wargaming universe, like literally, what is the universe? How is it physically represented on a tabletop? It can be whatever you want outside the tabletop, but it always is going to come down through a filter to say, okay, what goes in this 2x2? And then you immediately have to think about the terrain they already have, what they have access to, and the general accessibility of your game. I know that not everyone just has L-shaped ruins, but I know that everyone has L-shaped ruins. And so as kind of like a proxy extension of that, if you want it on the tabletop with stuff that people have, which is the goal of this game, your world needs to kind of be semi-ruined. This is kind of where the originality choke chain pretty much first hits. I'm sure there was, most of you are all right, but there's probably a slack handful of people at the start who said, well, if you just nick in IPs, I'm not interested. And I mean, everyone's nicking IPs. I'm just fucking honest about it, because that was my line of work for like 15, 16 years was, can you do Hans Zimmer, but can you do it for 20 quid? And my answer was, yeah, sure. Okay, if that's where the work is, that's what I'll do. Once I realized everyone else I was working for was creatively bankrupt, I thought, well, fuck it, why pretend? But you know, if I told you that the landscape of our game universe was made entirely of mountain-sized faces in the landscape, which is not an original concept anyway, that sneeze and your models fall over when they sneeze. Firstly, the problem with that is that no one has mountain-sized giant faces they can put on the tabletop. And secondly, as a result of that, I'm not going to sell any copies. So we did a lot of roundabout thinking, we did a lot of probing, we did a lot of bouncing ideas off each other. And we just said, shall we go with a feudalistic, dark, dystopian, apocalyptic fantasy setting? And the answer was yes. That gives us a lot of stuff to play with further down the line. But for now, it's a nice, comfy zone where we can start working outwards from. You can represent that on the tabletop. You can buy those miniatures very easily. Job done. That's a win for accessibility for me. So who are your characters and who are you playing as? Well, me and Simon, the guy that I'm making this game with, we did rattle around the idea of, well, what if you're the universe's bad guys, like the pariahs of this universe, who aren't necessarily that bad? It gives us a lot of that lovely British moral ambiguity to play with. So we settled on the idea of undead characters, also because undead characters answered one of our other questions that we had for ourselves is how can your models return to the table every game after they've died in the previous game? Well, there you go. And it also ties back into that miniature agnosticism of you can basically have any humanoid looking model and paint it a slightly paler flesh color and it fits on our tabletop. And the feudalistic city-state that we've made, capitalized as the city, nice little reference to the Thief series there, it gives us a convenient bad guy. It gives us something that is obviously not a good thing against our awakened dead characters, and it's very simplistic, but we can kind of just ball it up and we can move it to one side and we can say, okay, We'll come back to that when we've got more ideas that can then come back around and bounce off that and hopefully make that dynamic more interesting, in terms of lore, at least. Mechanically, we've pulled a lot of ideas from different things we like to play. Board games, miniatures games, card games, all sorts of stuff. And then flip them upside down, do something different, but also possibly where those systems hadn't justified. I say justified like they have to. So as I mentioned to pretty much everyone at ChillCon, where we did a very, very soft kind of reveal of this game, Simon, who I'm working on the game with, likes his tables, he likes his numbers. I like pictures on dice. I'm not going to pretend I don't. I, for the life of me, cannot hold and carry and move and manipulate numbers in my head. It just doesn't work. I need visual reference, I need diagrams, I need pictures. So the first mechanic we brought in was character levels and damage being represented by dice size. The bigger the dice, the harder your character is. That is essentially it. But as a character takes damage during the game and gets worn down, their dice size goes down from, like, you know, D12 to D10 to D8 to D6 to D4 to death, which makes it harder for them to succeed in combat. It also makes it harder for them to cast spells that have like unified, fixed target numbers they need to hit. That's really nice, clear visual representation of how tough a character is or whether a character's ruined. I like that. And we thought, okay, that is potentially quite a lot of dice. We only have 4 characters. However, that is still quite a lot of dice when technically they need D4 to D12 each if you want to maximize on them. So we realized, okay, those dice need to do something else functional to essentially justify their place in this system. So Simon cooked up this idea, which is kind of bolt action-y, very nice, where at the start of an initiative phase, you would roll your pool of dice, highest number goes first, but then you can then assign one of those dice to one of your characters that corresponds to it with level, and away that character goes on their activation with that dice. You can bank a dice to use it later for turn interruption during your opponent's activation, or you can nominate one of your opponent's dice, and they have to do something pretty much immediately, either something very brash and stupid or something conservative. It is quite bolt action-y, it's got a bit of the bolt actions about it, but instead of like random chance in a bag, every choice regarding dice is an informed decision and a bit of a gamble and a bit of a poker move, which you know, it's more player agency, which is what we wanted. Another thing we wanted to bring in early doors was some kind of resource management that you would have to do on kind of like the back end when getting your characters to do stuff. Stargrave and Frostgrave have health tracking on a piece of paper. We already have health covered. That is visually covered by something else, which is the size of the dice. So we introduced a stamina mechanic, which is a constantly fluctuating mechanic. Everything in Petracore will cost stamina for the most part. You can spend it, you can regenerate it, you can spend it again, and you can regenerate it, or they can even burn themselves out and kind of semi-pass out if they use too much of it. But as with the dice, we wanted the stamina to serve more than one purpose, again, so it felt cemented, it felt like an integrated part of all of the separate systems we've got to I guess, yeah, justify itself. So we introduced something called stamina break, and the way we did that was, as much as I hate to use this phrase, we've given characters like a Master Chief Halo Shield, essentially, which is a soft damage blocker before damage actually starts to take effect. Yeah, if you get hit in Petracore, your character becomes stamina broken. If they get hit again, they actually take damage and their dice starts to go down. So when you're moving your characters around on the field and you're getting them to do stuff, you're getting them to throw fireballs, you're getting them to put walls of fire, fire tornadoes, ice tornadoes, creating black holes with the Black Magician, whatever. You need to make sure you always have enough stamina in the tank at the end of that activation so that your character has a soft shield in place. But also, as the aggressor in the next activation, you need to have enough stamina to get over to the target. You need to whack it to stamina break it. You need to whack it again to damage it. And then you yourself do not want to be left wide open at the end of your activation, because that character can potentially get back up and start wailing on you. So Yeah. And it becomes kind of like this nice fluctuating resource dance. And again, kind of the poker angle of, do I leave a vulnerable unit out there as bait when I keep these ones stacked up at the back that can easily just run in and do some damage? Yeah, it becomes, with 4 miniatures, we ended up having so much granularity before we gave them character-defining abilities and spells. Like, the strategic depth is actually quite frightening. And yeah, we were happy with that for a little while of stamina and dice sizes. We thought, okay, not many games do that. In fact, none that I can think of off the top of my head, but if you know any, do let me know. So we went back to world building for a little while. Very organic process, fluctuating things around. And I'm sat there thinking, shit, okay, this is quite cool, but none of this has a reason for happening yet. It's all well and good that they have dice tracking for their health. It's all well and good they have a stamina system, but why are people hitting each other? Why are they whacking each other? I needed a reason for why a team of 4 undead that don't eat, sleep, or need anything, why would they fight another team of 4 undead that don't eat, sleep, or need anything? So we go back into our world building and we realize, okay, here's some questions we need to answer. Firstly, we need to answer those questions in the sense of our world Bible. A world Bible is essentially a set of logistics. It's a set of rules that your world is governed by. We also have to answer those questions in a way that can be interpreted and then channeled through to the player, the consumer, essentially. And those two aren't completely different, but they're different enough. And the peak question in all of that was, what the fuck is Petracore? Petracore is this universe's MacGuffin. Petracore is kind of like a liquid / crystallized material that brings the dead back to life, who you then play as. Why does it do that? How does it do that? When does it do that? I know that. The game's world Bible knows that, but no one in universe knows that, and therefore you probably aren't going to know that. If you want to figure it out for yourself, there's a shed load of like point of view documents written by characters in universe, and it is pretty much, if you want to know, you got to read those and you've got to make an informed decision yourself about what it is and why it does its thing and how it works. But I need Petracore to do something other than that, because like with the game mechanics, we have a rule of 2 where everything is cemented and justified. So then I thought, what if the humans, the living, who are like our de facto bad guy, they're our boogeymen, they're who we fight against, what if they are addicted to Petracore? What if it makes them feel good, man? Now we're cooking with meth. Now we have a more interesting dynamic. Now we've taken that little box of feudalistic city-state, and now we've started to add detail into kind of like the bottom rungs of it. And we have now a need for our awakened characters to survive. It might sound like an easy way out, but I think the easy way out would have been to make some kind of fundamentalist, orthodox sort of religious order that the feudal city-state was, and their doctrine was undead things bad, go kill. I think that would have been easier. Should have done that. And then I thought, okay, well, what if the humans are addicted to Petracore? If we give the awakened dead something that they're addicted to, so we kind of have a perpetual cyclical relationship between the world, and then move it up like a food chain. What if we do that? Yes, let's do that. And then by proxy, once you've kind of got this unobtainium in the mix, and Petracore has some kind of unintended value outside of its original MacGuffin purpose, then you have to ask, well, what is the purpose of Petracore? Why would it have that side effect? Why would it do that when it's clearly just there to bring the dead back to life? Is it working how it's meant to? We don't know. The lore documents in the book will speculate that, but potentially none of them have it right. Potentially. But because they have done their own research, the characters start pushing those ideas in the lore, which, if I hadn't told you this, you might read it as fact in the book, but the majority of lore is point of view. narrative stuff. And we decided to run with this, this point of view narrative of self-interested people with an opinion. But it kind of makes a mythology more fleshed out. You end up with a universe that is heavily populated with information, but the information isn't necessarily the truth that's in our world Bible. Again, it's not necessarily a new idea. We're not chasing new ideas. We're chasing new ways of delivering those ideas. So it's it almost goes back to build your own adventure books, in the sense that you never know what's on the next page. Therefore, you never have a full encapsulation of the narrative, the story, and the world. Like, ultimately, you can build your own stories because you are your own unreliable narrator in Petracore, I guess. We're trying to consistently reinforce that miniature agnosticism and use of imagination, and just saying, here is some framework. Go and have fun and tell some stories. That's kind of what we're doing, and we're constantly trying to reinforce that. But yeah, cycling back, we still did not have a concrete thing for 2 factions of 4 undead units to fight against each other on a 2x2 tabletop. So we went right back to basics, and we did a creation myth. And via a creation myth, you can work between the lines, you can use doublespeak, you can be vague, and through a creation myth, I could give the awakened characters, your characters, something that they needed, another MacGuffin, essentially, which isn't going to be fully explained because the final explanation is quite fun, and I want to hold back on that. Mythical things do not need a logical through line to exist. They simply need to be announced that they exist. There is something happening, they do something, and then you can move on and get into the nitty-gritty of other stuff. But through the vague creation language we used, we kind of then inadvertently came up with another mechanic, which was sites of power. Sites of power in Petracore are both lore and mechanical. So what they essentially are is places that make your characters feel good. But the feel-good factor of those sites seems to be finite and is a consumable resource. So we managed to invent a resource for our undead characters that do not need resources. And we did that in a creation myth. We've pretty much given ourselves a lore reason that they fight each other, and we've given ourselves a mechanical reason why they would be fighting, and we've also developed a game mode for how to play the game. I am going to go more into Petracore in its run-up to its official release at UK Games Expo. I'll be talking miniature design, which outsourced, artwork outsourced, cover art outsourced, which is fancy terms for throw money at the problem, and also kind of budget as well, like how much it has cost me to make this game. So I will probably cover that in the next video I do about this game. I don't have time now. I have to go back and go back into the rulebook for this game, because that design doc needs finishing very soon. It needs to go off to the printers and be done, because come rain or shine, this thing needs to launch at UK Games Expo very soon. Otherwise, I am financially fucked. So yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. I'm out of here. Hello.
Hey, mate. Well, what's in hunt?
Just
Seance.
Just me filming B-cam, mate.
B-camera.
No, it's not a seance, mate. Probably right in front of the camera, mate. There he is.
Beta camera.
Beta camera. It's the new
Camarades.
It's the Newcastle D-cam, mate. There you go.
First.